What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Leo coming to you guys with yet another video. Coming to you guys today with another reaction. Today we're checking out 10 best WWE matches of 2020. 2020 was a very hard year for a lot of us as wrestling fans and individuals. The year of the pandemic, a lot of stuff shut down. It's in the WWE. I think it was a lot of things that happened. They had to come up with a lot of ideas that they wouldn't have went with. We got the Boneyard match, the cinematic match between John Cena and Bray Wyatt. Um, the Money in the Bank was cinematic. You know, them rushing to the top of the tower to grab the contract. Um, we had some other things that were interesting as well. We got the rise of Jey Uso. We got the heel turn that we all wanted from Roman Reigns. We got to see a lot. We got to see Drew McIntyre become WWE champion. Unfortunately, it was during the pandemic, so that story is continuing still to this current day, to where he is trying to win that title and hold that title in front of fans. So that story is still continuing. But like I said, WWE in 2020 had to come up with a lot of ideas to come up with during the pandemic. But we're going to see what Cultaholic had to come up with as far as best WWE matches of 2020. I think the two that come to mind is literally the Jey Uso versus Roman Reigns match from Clash or Hell in a Cell. The Survivor Series match between Drew and Roman was good. I think those are just two that come to mind. Maybe I'm not thinking of much, but I think maybe the Asuka and Sasha match was good. So we'll see.
It feels weird to say anything good about the year 2020, as most of it was the equivalent of dropping a slice of bread on the floor butter side down and then slipping on the bread and breaking your neck and knob. However, even with all the horrors going on in the world, which I'm sure I don't need to go over, WWE was on hand to provide some great wrestling. It wasn't all good. This was the year with Eye for an Eye, lest we forget, but there were some bangers to be found. I'm Adam Pachisi from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are the 10 best WWE matches of 2020. Join us! Number 10, The Undertaker vs. AJ Styles at WrestleMania 36.
For Undertaker's last match, this was a great send-off, and AJ was the perfect opponent. Like, these two, the styles clash very well, but I would say if the pandemic never did happen, I think them having a singles match, one-on-one, I think would have been just as good, but I think for them doing a cinematic match, this definitely was perfect.
Night 1. WrestleMania 36 was the first WWE pay-per-view to take place during the end times, so the company took this as an opportunity to get experimental. The first night's main event was the Boneyard match, a pre-shot cinematic clash between AJ Styles and The Undertaker. Styles thought he had the upper hand when he arrived on the scene in a coffin, but Taker played some mind games of his own when he showed up on a motorcycle, reviving the American Badass gimmick for the occasion. What followed was a great big campy brawl as the two men battered each other up and down the graveyard in a spectacle that was half enthralling, half incredibly silly. Taker used all of his spooky powers, including summoning a wall of fire, and he fought a bunch of masked druids at one point, because at this point, I mean, why not? The Boneyard match was absolutely bonkers, but it was also a whole heap of fun. There's a historical significance to it as well, as this was the Phenom's final ever match. Probably not how he saw himself going out, but the life of a dead man can be a funny old thing sometimes. Number 9.
Olivia and Mitch now share a space. Not so much taste.
Seriously?
And when she was stuck on marrying their styles, she went to
Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens at TL.
Oh yeah, this was a great match. This was a good match. Their chemistry has always been very great. Knowing that this was pretty much the beginning of the Tribal Chief era of Roman Reigns, that this was like the beginning of his 4-year reign that he had as the champion. Kevin Owens, I would honestly say, is one of his biggest rivals, I think, in WWE. I know a lot of people would put other names above him, like a Brock Lesnar or something like that, but at the same time, I think Kevin Owens has to be up there with his biggest rivals of all time. So
LC. When you think of Roman's greatest career rivals, your mind probably goes to names like Brock Lesnar or Cody Rhodes, but there is a strong case to be made that Kevin Owens is actually his best ever foe. Owens stepped up to face Roman Reigns for his newly won Universal Championship at the TLC pay-per-view in a match fought under the show's signature rules. The pair had proven that they
I have a feeling we're gonna get these two clash again at some point, based off what happened off SmackDown. I really feel like we're gonna get another encounter or match with these two. So I'm really looking forward to their potential clash once again, and now the roles could potentially be reversed, and now this new Roman Reigns tribal chief character, but more on the face side, and then you have Kevin Owens maybe reverting back to the prize fighter. So I think that'll be very cool to see. But like he said, he has to be up there with one of his biggest rivals to date, for sure.
Worked well together in a no DQ.
And then you go think back at TLC, like he used Jay to his advantage, so there's still no love lost between Jay and Kevin Owens.
Environment at the 2017 Royal Rumble, but this was on a whole other level. KO thrives in hardcore environments and took all manner of crazy bumps to make his opponent look strong. The big dog played his role to perfection, attempting to maintain his composure while silently in awe of how Owens was able to take so much punishment. The closing spot of Owens plunging from the top of a ladder after getting choked out was superb, allowing Reigns to retain his championship and carry it into the new year. Fun fact for you, this was the first Roman title defense to feature Uso interference, beginning a trend that would annoyingly continue for many, many years. Number 8, AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan on SmackDown. Considering they took place either in front...
This was a good match. I think, knowing their history going back a year prior, probably it's like a year or two prior, where Daniel won the WWE Championship, and you had, SmackDown wanting to try to introduce new talent and trying to get new talent over. Had these two feud over the Intercontinental Championship, and then you had other people coming in like Matt Riddle, who came in around this time and then made a big name for himself as well. So this is definitely was an interesting time period where they were trying to come up with different ideas and try new things. So yeah.
Front of a bunch of extras from the Performance Center or in the living cheese dream that was the Thunderdome, it's easy to forget that some great matches happened on WWE's weekly TV shows in 2020, including this gem from the June 12th episode of SmackDown. After Sami Zayn did a runner with the Intercontinental title, a tournament was held to crown a new champ. The finals came down to AJ Styles on one side and Daniel Bryan on the other, a truly mouth-watering clash for anyone who liked wrestling even just a little bit. As you would expect, these gifted grapplers put on a show, going above and beyond what was expected of a TV match. The action was crisper than a fresh lettuce, smoother than melted chocolate, as fundamentally sound as... Alright, I've run out of food-based similes, but you get the picture. Bryan eventually fell to a phenomenal forearm, giving Styles the IC title for the first time in his career. Things would get a little complicated regardless.
This was a good match between the two. It really was, and it kind of helped elevate the Intercontinental Championship to an extent. And then you had the potential of Daniel Bryan becoming champion again. And then you had the opportunity to put the IC title on AJ Styles, who would have made him a Grand Slam champion. So they made him a Grand Slam champion. Then you had Jeff Hardy win it at some point. Then you had Sami Zayn come back in at some point, who never lost the championship. So it definitely amped up the intrigue around the Intercontinental Championship around this time.
Guarding the belt, especially when Zayn reappeared, which we can actually talk about right now. Number 7.
Sunday.
Just gotta steam it, babe.
Time to suit up.
Jeff Hardy versus Sami Zayn versus AJ Styles.
This was a good match. I actually just recently watched this recently. This was a really good match. And then the ending was really cool, where you had Sami used the ladders and stuff like that to his advantage. He had handcuffs. He handcuffed AJ to the ladder, and he handcuffed Jeff Hardy's ear to the ladder, which was kind of very painful to look at. It was and stuff like that. So I tried to look away, but it was kind of hard to see, honestly. But the match still was cool, and the ending was really creative for sure.
Styles at Clash of Champions. Of all the people for Styles to lose the Intercontinental Championship to, Jeff Hardy was a name that nobody saw coming. The charismatic Enigma beat the Phenomenal One on the August 21st episode of SmackDown, but the very next week, Sami Zayn made his return, claiming to still be the rightful champion as he was never beaten. I smell a triple threat. The rightful champ would be decided at Clash of Champions with Hardy, Styles and Zayn all going at it in a ladder match. In terms of participants for this stipulation, you could do a lot worse than these three. This match had all the thrills and spills you could want from a hardware-based encounter, including Zayn getting chucked around like a dog toy and Hardy still going crazy despite being older than the sun. Sami got the upper hand, quite literally, by handcuffing his two opponents so they were incapacitated, including threading one set through the hole in Jeff's earlobe, which is just nasty. Yeah. Zayn unclipped both belts to crown himself the official, undisputed IC champ, getting the title's lineage back on track. Number 6, Bayley vs Sasha Banks at Hell in a Cell. The pandemic may have been a dark time.
I mean, we knew their chemistry going back to their days in NXT. NXT TakeOver New Brooklyn. That was a really good match in 2015. I think that really just amped up the women's division as a whole, and breathed new life into the division for sure. And we were able to see these two go at it again. We've seen these two go at it. They were, going at it around this time. I think they were heels for a while. Then I think Bayley turned. So it was a lot that it was really interesting for sure.
For most people, but a shining light for wrestling fans came in the form of Sasha Banks and Bayley, aka the Golden Role Models. These best buds did some of their best work behind closed doors, acting like arrogant douchebags whenever they were together, but being way too funny and witty to actually hate. At one point, this unit held the Raw and SmackDown Women's Championships and the Women's Tag Belts, effectively making them a two-woman power trip. However, come Hell in a Cell, Banks had lost both of her titles and been turned on by her friend, setting up this highly charged encounter over the blue belt. Bayley and Banks had made magic together in NXT, but had yet to have their proper main roster classic. This match changed that as they put on a stunning cell match that was as physically brutal as it was emotionally fraught. The boss would finally get one over on her ex-bestie by winning the match and the championship with a nasty-looking chair-assisted Banks statement. Many of you might prefer Brooklyn, sure, but this was still pretty damn good. Number 5, Volta vs Ilya Dragunov on NXT UK.
The first of few great matches between these two. Like, I actually watched this. Even though Walter won this one, it was still really, really good. It was still really, really good. I loved it.
We weren't going to include any NXT match.
I believe, I'm not sure. I think it was 2020, if I'm not mistaken. It was 2020 or 21. I think Gunther or Walter lost the UK title. I think it was in 2020.
Which is on this list as it still felt separate in 2020, but since this one had everybody talking at the time, it simply had to make the cut. Before he was a dominant Intercontinental Champion named Gunther, the Austrian Man Mountain was a dominant NXT UK Champion named Volta. On the October 29th, 2020 edition of the Brand's Weekly Show, he put the belt on the line against...
Yeah, okay, so he was still champion, but the way they were booking Ilya, it was like this underdog babyface that would take so much punishment and would still continue to keep getting back up over and over again and really continue to take whatever Gunther or Walter at the time was giving him and then some. It created a great narrative, and it created a great story, and it created a way more bigger movie for people to potentially see him be the one to take the title from Walter, and he ended up doing that on NXT. I think it was NXT TakeOver 31, and the fact that he did something that nobody else has ever been able to do, and well, everybody else, there's been other people that have beaten Gunther, well, like Braun Breaker, who pinned him, Sammy, who pinned him, but the fact that not only Ilya Dragunov was part of that class to beat him, but he's the only one to ever make him submit. He made him tap out in the process to be the one to take that title, which made his win even better.
against a man he knew very well indeed, Ilya Dragunov. In front of 0 fans, which I think is close to what NXT UK used to draw even before the pandemic. Alright, calm down. These darlings of the European independent scene momentarily forgot that wrestling was fake. Honestly, it looked like they were legitimately trying to hospitalize one another. Walter and Ilya held nothing back, smacking 10 bells out of each other before picking up those bells and using them as weapons. Legitimately one of the scariest matches in recent times. It is truly a sight to behold. Time to run it back, Papa H.
Yeah.
Number 4.
Enemies in Rome are dangerous.
They're gonna run it back at the
Or The Fiend Bray Wyatt versus John Cena at WrestleMania 36 Night 2. Of the 2 cinematic matches at WrestleMania 36, the Boneyard match was for people who liked their wrestling big and loud, whilst the Firefly
It really was a great cinematic match. It was like, because the story was there, considering everything that happened with them prior, I think 6 years before this, which is in 2014 when Bray and John were actually feuding and stuff like that. So them revisiting this, and Bray Wyatt kind of had him like this mystique about him to where he doesn't forget and comes after the people who have wronged him in the past. And John Cena was on that list, so it really created a great narrative and a great story. And for them using a cinematic style, it really worked. At first, I wasn't too sure how it was gonna work, but like looking at it and then kind of rewatching it again, I look back on it and I think like this was a great idea for them to do, to kind of do something different, because they could have easily went with just a regular one-on-one match, but the fact that they thought outside the box a little bit and did something that they normally wouldn't do, and it ended up working, was a really cool thing to see.
Funhouse match was for those who wanted their wrestling to be intimate and psychological. Look at me, I'm so clever. We were originally going to get John Cena taking on Bray Wyatt in a straight-up rematch of their clash at Mania 30, but once the dreaded Rona set in, plans changed significantly. Cena instead faced his old foe in a video essay come to life, a cerebral takedown of all of Big Match John's perceived flaws as a character. It gave us some truly iconic moments, like Cena in an NWO shirt, Bray returning to his old cult leader gimmick, and of course, the debut of Johnny Largemeat. The only criticism against this match is that it really isn't a match at all. Instead, it's one of the most unique experiments ever conducted in the world of wrestling, and will live on forever as proof that Wyatt's brain was operating on a whole different level. Number 3, the Men's Royal Rumble.
Yes. The Men's Royal Rumble was one of the best of all time, and it's not even because I was there for this. Like, yes, maybe that's kind of just a lot of bias thing, but like, for those who watched the Rumble, you got to understand this was to me, one of the generational moments, just because of the things that we got. Like, we got Drew winning, that was cool. We had the return of the Rated R superstar Edge after so many years away from the ring. We had some NXT people be involved. We had Keith Lee. Then we had Brock as WWE champion. And then the story going through, was he going to go through the entire match? And then Drew eliminating him. So it really was so many different cool moments throughout the match that you could just love to see. And Edge was the cherry on top of all of this. It just really helped elevate the match as a whole, for sure.
At Royal Rumble. The only match on this list to feature an actual full-sized crowd was one of the freshest, most exciting Royal Rumble matches in recent memory. Brock Lesnar, who was WWE champion at the time, announced his intention to enter the men's match at number 1 in an effort to prove his dominance, as if he needed to. For the most part, this is precisely what he did, chucking out fools left, right and centre before coming face to face with Drew McIntyre. Shortly afterwards, he would come foot to balls with Ricochet. After the well-timed nutshots, the Scottish psychopath swiftly dispatched the beast to a huge pop, instantly enhancing his star power. This allowed the rest of the Rumble to flow as usual, but even then it was full of surprises. This is, of course, when we got the Edge return, for crying out loud. You know, you remember when the cameras missed his first spear in over a decade? Again, great job, Kevin Dunn. We sure do miss you. Even without the Lesnar stuff, this was a very good Rumble, but the fact that McIntyre, who would go on to win the match, was made into a proper main eventer thanks to one little kick elevates it to an even higher plane. Number 2.
So many great recommendations.
Really did.
Yeah, Fire
They
TV
used
serves
Roman
up the best
Claymore
options
for-
from all my apps in one place.
Roman Reigns versus Jey.
People wanted to see, Drew win, but when they had him Claymore kick Brock out of the ring, it really just catapulted him even higher.
Uso at Hell in a Cell.
Yep. Honestly, one of Roman Reigns' best. This might be a hot take. Throughout Roman Reigns' Tribal Chief era, right? This was his best feud. His best feud. Best feud.
2020, the year it all started for Roman Reigns and his colossal Universal Championship run. After capturing the title at Payback just 1 week after his big SummerSlam return, Reigns needed a compelling storyline to cement his new heel persona. Enter a man who, despite having limited singles experience, was perfect for the job, Roman's cousin, Jey Uso. In the second of their 2 incredible title matches from 2020, Jey faced Roman in an I Quit Hell in a Cell match at Hell in a Cell. The reason for that first stipulation was that Reigns needed Jey's support to officially call himself Tribal Chief. Without his acknowledgement, he couldn't sit at the head of the table. The presence of the Cell might have been completely unnecessary, but this match still ruled, and it culminated in the best finish of the entire year. Knowing he wasn't going to get his opponent to submit for his own sake, Roman tearfully locked in a guillotine choke on his brother Jimmy, forcing Jey to finally say he quit and crown Reigns the leader of the family. Somebody get the popcorn because this was cinema. Number 1, Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso at Clash of Champions. 1 month before
It
Reigns
makes sense. It just makes sense. It really makes sense. Like, if you look at the feuds that they've had in the matches, Roman have always had to do something underhanded to get the upper hand over Jey. He's never been able to beat him clean. Even currently, he's still never beat him clean. Hell in a Cell, he had to use his brother. His brother threw the towel in at Clash of the Castle, which he's about to mention. His brother got involved at SummerSlam last year to be the reason Jey didn't win. So it's always been his brother that's been the reason he's never beaten Roman. Just think about that. It's always been his brother, while he's never been a singles champion for the most part. Just saying.
and Jey stepped inside the big red cage, they battled over the Universal Championship in a singles match at Clash of Champions. However, this was no ordinary singles match. I mean, it was in terms of the actual rules, but not the story. This was the first time we got to see fully fledged heel Reigns in action. The constant demeaning of his opponent, the slow, methodical attacks, the mean looks on his face, these tropes maybe seem played out now, but considering Roman had been a happy-go-lucky babyface earlier this year, this was revolutionary. It also completely changed the way people saw Jey. Now, he wasn't just one half of an interchangeable tag team, he was his own man, determined to bring his cousin round from the dark side by beating him. After a low blow kick-out combo, which Jey would reference 3 years later at
He really did. He referenced that. They mirrored that at Money in the Bank in 2023 to help Jey pretty much get the win over Roman Reigns. So it's crazy how they did these callbacks for sure. But I'm not mad that the Roman Reigns Jey Uso match with the top two matches of that year. That makes all the sense in the world for sure. But comment down below. Let me know, what are some of your favorite matches from 2020? What were some of your favorite matches? Let me know in the comment section down below. Road to 300 subscribers, but those my goal is 10K. When I do hit 10K, we'll do a giveaway when one of my lucky subscribers will have the opportunity to win a WWE Championship from WWE Shop. So if you want to have the opportunity to be a part of that, subscribe to the channel. It's absolutely free. You can always change your mind in the future, but why would you want to do that? I'm trying to give you guys daily wrestling content. The grind does not stop. Super kick that like button helps my channel get pushed across the platform so more people can see what I'm doing here on YouTube. Superman Punch, the post notification bell, so every time I post a new video, it's a reaction video, rant video, live stream, any type of video, you can be in the loop of things when I do drop a video, and speed the subscribe button. It takes 3 seconds to do your day to do those 3 things for me. Helps on the progression of my channel. But let me know, like I said, let me know your favorite matches of 2020. If they were on this list, why were they some of your favorite matches? And if they weren't on this list, what was your favorite match of 2020? I would love to hear what you have to say. But with that being said, hope everyone has a great day, a great week, and I'll see you guys in the next video.